Good morning. Thank you for joining me today to update not only the City of Jacksonville's response to COVID-19, but the potential impact of the tropical storm that is threatening Florida. On the call with me today is Emergency Operations Center Director Steve Woodard. Before we begin, I want to note that we're holding our briefing early today so that those of you watching can have the important information you need regarding this storm, but also so that we can honor Congressman John Lewis, whose funeral will begin at 11 a.m. this morning. Late last night, Tropical Storm Isaias was officially named, and we are closely watching the track and potential impact to our area. While it's too early to determine what this storm will do, the current forecast has it approaching Florida Saturday and potentially impacting Jacksonville with tropical force winds and rain by Sunday. Regardless, even though we have uncertainty regarding the cone you're seeing on your local and national news channels, it covers a wide area, and that's why this is the time to prepare. Even in the event, even if we don't have an impact from this storm, which we'll know whether or not in the days ahead, this is a good time and a good reminder that we are in hurricane season and we should all be prepared and prepared to navigate it in a time of a pandemic. This is the time to inventory and build your emergency supply kit. It should contain items like non-perishable foods, flashlights, batteries, water, necessary medications, important papers, and more. I know these are tough financial times for many, and that buying items for an emergency supply kit might be a challenge for some folks. If you need help, you can reach out to the Red Cross or the United Way. You can also contact your church to see if they can provide assistance. If you know a neighbor who is struggling, help them out if you can. I have said all along with COVID-19 that we're all in this together. That goes for storms as well, and life in general. I'm asking you to please make sure your neighbors and friends have what they need. There's a full checklist of everything you should have in your kit inside of the Emergency Preparedness Guide that was mailed to all Duval County households last week. You can access a virtual copy at jaxready.com. That's also where you'll find helpful and important information like how to protect your property before and during a storm, how to know your zone, please know your zone, and determine if you're located in an area prone to flooding, and also where you should go if we need to evacuate. When it comes to evacuations, our experience during hurricanes Matthew and Irma shows us that on average, only 1% of people living in areas that are evacuated go to shelters. We have always had available space to accommodate those who need a safe place to weather the storm, and we usually shelter less than 5,000 people. While COVID-19 provides new challenges when it comes to evacuations and shelters, we've spent the last few months preparing. We want to make sure that we provide multiple safe places for citizens that will not only protect you from the storm, but also from COVID-19. Director Woodard is here to provide more information about shelters. I'll turn it over to Director Woodard for a moment. Does he need to unmute? Director Woodard, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor, for that question. We have a very effective hurricane plan that includes an effective sheltering plan, and we've used that during Hurricanes Matthew, Irma, and Dorian. We can accommodate the people who seek shelter, and we have the resources to accommodate those people and to have very effective operations. We've been working really closely with the American Red Cross and with the CDC to determine how best to serve the community as we have COVID, and can do that with the shelters. We'll expand the space that people have in the shelters. We'll open additional shelters if we need to. We have a great plan, and we're ready to implement that if we need to. Right now, in our discussions with the Jacksonville National Weather Service and with the National Hurricane Center, if this storm keeps to the track that they're predicting, likely we will not open shelters, but they're certainly ready if we need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We'll continue to watch this tropical storm closely and provide updates to help you prepare. If you have not already done this, download the Jax Ready app on your smartphone or tablet to receive push alerts and other important information. Now that we've talked about the tropical storm, I want to give you an update on COVID-19 and available testing throughout our city. COVID-19 hospitalizations remain stable, which means they're not declining rapidly, but they're also not spiking, which, as I said in my briefing a couple of days ago, I'm cautiously optimistic that we have plateaued, and it looks like it could be a long plateau on the way back down, as long as we continue to practice social distancing and mask wearing and all the things that we should be doing. I've been in communication with hospitals, some today, some yesterday, the day before, and they remain capable of handling the patients they have. If you need to be tested for COVID-19, there are multiple locations. We have 6 city-funded sites open to the public that are only seeing a fraction of the individuals they can handle. We can conduct up to 192 tests per day at each of these 4 senior centers: Lane Wiley, Ocean Way, Leroy D. Clemens, and Mandarin. At the Jim Fortuna Senior Center and the mobile testing site located at the beaches, we can administer up to 100 tests per day. In addition to these, there are 2 state-sponsored sites that also have large testing capacity. The Regency location can test as many as 1,250 per day, while the Legend Center can test 500 per day. It's important to note that because of the tropical storm, the state is closing its testing sites throughout Florida at the close of business today. We will let you know about city-sponsored sites, but at this time, they're up and running. If you need to be tested, we have a website with a list full of locations and criteria. This includes 6 new city-sponsored sites. Go to coj.net/COVID-19 testing. I've heard concern about the turnaround for the test results. It's important to note that a majority of those being tested at the city-sponsored sites, a majority are getting results within a couple of days. Before we close and take questions, I want to recap an important decision from Governor DeSantis that was announced last night. The rent moratorium has been extended until September 1st. This means if you're unable to pay your rent, you cannot be evicted through the month of August. While I understand this can be a strain on landlords, ensuring that those impacted financially by COVID-19 have a safe place to live until they can get back on their feet is the right thing to do. Thank you again for joining me and for getting this important information out to the citizens of Jacksonville. A couple of quick reminders. Please wear a mask or cloth face covering when you're in close contact with others. Maintain a safe social distance of 6 feet or more when you can. Wash your hands frequently and avoid large gatherings. If you have symptoms or have had direct contact with someone who's positive, please stay home, self-isolate, and get a test to prevent spreading this virus to vulnerable populations. With that, we'll take questions. We'll start with Ann with First Coast News.
Good morning, Mayor. Obviously, when we go into hurricane season, we start to see a lot of lines build up as people move into getting their generators and all of that. And I wonder if you've got any special advice given the pandemic, beyond wearing masks, if there's going to be any limits on store capacities, if the Home Depots are going to be given any additional guidance.
Sure, that's a really good question, Ann, and a really good reminder to people that when you're out and about, most of the stores that I've been in, retail stores, grocery stores, et cetera, have markings on their floors and their lines that demonstrate the 6 feet of distance. If you're in a store that doesn't have that, be mindful. Wear your mask. Do not crowd in jammed lines as you're getting your supply kits. And by the way, we're doing this briefing today. We don't know how this tropical storm will develop. We're not under an immediate threat that people should be panicking or rushing around, but this is a good reminder during a pandemic to prepare, to get your kit ready, and to the point of your question, people just need to remember when they're in stores, COVID-19 is with us. Keep your distance, wear your mask, and be thoughtful of other folks. And I would encourage stores that are selling these kits and supplies to have their floors marked and remind people to practice social distancing. Jim with WJXT.
Hi, Mayor. Since we're hearing that this storm will probably be a rain event, not a wind event, what's happening now within the city, say with Public Works? You know, there's always been concern about flooding here. You have the Resiliency Committee currently meeting at this time, talking about impacts on neighborhood. Is there anything going on today that people should be aware of And what are the plans for like services, garbage pickup, things as that nature? Has any of that been discussed yet?
At this point in time, garbage pickup remains as scheduled. If that changes, we'll be sure to let you know. And Jim, I think in previous storms, you have been out with me when I visited with Public Works teams. Anytime we're facing a potential event that could have significant rain or wind, flooding issues, we have crews out that are doing what they always do, but additional, making sure they're cleaning out drainage areas and the ability for water to flow and move. That's typical protocol when we're headed into a serious rain or wind event. Hannah with WOKV.
Hi, Mayor. So with the state-run COVID-19 testing sites closing until approximately Wednesday, will the city-run testing sites change their hours to accommodate the increase of people who may need to get tested but can't go to the Regency or the Legend Center?
Right now, we don't have plans to change our hours. We are doing everything that we can, obviously, to keep testing opened so people can get a test. The only change I could potentially foresee coming, obviously, if there's a weather event that creates danger for people to be out and about, that would require us to alter hours, potentially even close. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to have to happen. But we've got plenty of capacity at our city sites. I mean, I would remind folks that we committed months ago that we would get in front of the availability of testing. We did that. We used CARES funding to expand testing. And thank goodness we did, because as we saw the spread that was happening started a month or so ago, we were able to get people into testing sites and plenty of capacity right now. I encourage people, if they need a test, to get a test. Elizabeth with Action News.
Hi, Mayor. You mentioned how the city has spent the past couple of months preparing for a potential storm. Can you spell out how COVID has changed the way you guys plan for a natural event like this? And then my second question was, you said hospitals are good to go to handle current capacity right now. Is the city in works with the state to try to get more supplies to sustain that? And if so, how much?
I'll let Director Woodard answer the specific questions about how some of what they're doing is virtual. But I would say we are, Director Woodard, who's also on the call, is also Emergency Operations Center. In addition to my communication with hospitals, there's an entire team that's up to date as to what's happening related to PPE, bed capacity on a daily basis. So we're always working with them on supply chains. There are no issues at this point. Director Woodard, I'll let you talk about how we prepare, watch, and monitor in a COVID-19 environment.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We prepare year-round, and we engage the community. We engage all of our stakeholders. We've done that during COVID with over 100 people, 100 organizations on the calls. Here at the Emergency Operations Center, we've spread our staff out. We have alternate locations that we've been using for several months to have that social distancing. We do work closely with the hospitals. As the mayor said, we look at the ICU capacity, the daily number of beds that are occupied, and look for trends. And as the mayor noted, those trends are stabilizing and in some cases improving. During a storm event, we obviously work not only with the hospitals, but with the nursing homes and the Red Cross, and ensure that we take care of all the people's needs and all the facility needs.
Thank you, Director. If there's anybody else that has any other questions, we'll take a couple of more. If we don't see something pop up in here in the next 10, 20 seconds, we'll, any more questions? Skylar Braun, WJCT.
Hey, Mayor, this one I believe is for Director Woodard. I know that there was a meeting, I want to say in late May, regarding how many shelters are available and how they had to expand the amount of shelters that were available due to COVID-19 and extra spacing. How many different shelters are available and have been identified now that you guys have had a couple more months to work on that plan?
That's a great question. We have 29 shelters that we've identified, and as the mayor mentioned, for most of the storms, we use only a small percentage of those, usually between 10 and 12. So we have that excess capacity. We've also been working with the school board where those shelters are in schools, we can expand the space in the schools to provide that social distancing. So we have the capacity in the shelters if we need them.
Jim with WJXT.
Mayor, I just had a question on the special needs shelters. I know a lot of people usually have to pre-register for that. Where does that stand now? And are these shelters going to be changing because of COVID?
Director Woodard, I'll let you address special needs shelters in registration.
Yes, thank you. The registration takes place year-round. Today we have JFRD personnel contacting people on that special needs registry, just confirming the information, their conditions, and what needs they might have. That's a process that we go through year-round, but particularly when there's a storm that we're closely watching. So we're checking on the people. We're making sure those contacts are good, and if we need to evacuate those people, we're prepared to do so.
Thank you. Again, I would just encourage people as we wrap up here to be prepared. We're in hurricane season, and just take a minute. This has been a long road, folks, a long few months going back to March with COVID-19 that's still with us, and now hurricane season. And I recognize that people are scared, people are tired, they're mentally strained, they're financially strained. So let's prepare for this season, and let's practice the safe social distancing, wear masks, and let's just take care of one another. Thank you.